Wake up with Hannah. Hannah Murray.
Good morning. It's just coming up to 9:20, and joining us on the line now from the UK is Ken Horn. He's worked in the consumer goods industry, supplying leading retailers, grocers and brands. He's closed businesses, sold businesses, developed businesses, and in 2005 launched his own business following a failed acquisition of a leading sports distributor. Since then, Ken has lent his expertise to a range of leading businesses, support agencies, colleges and universities. He's with us on The Breakfast Show to talk about his new book, Everyday Entrepreneurs. It's the business book for everyone tired of being told they have to have the next big thing in order to make a living running their own firm. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Hannah. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you for that.
Oh, we got there in the end. Thanks for being with us this morning. So,
you're welcome.
Tell us a bit about your business background then. How did you do you class yourself as an entrepreneur?
Well, more recently, yes, I do. But as you, I think, alluded to in your introduction, I used to work in a fairly sort of hostile environment of working with multiples like Tesco and Asda and other leading high street players. And that was quite a good foundation for what I do now. And actually, I don't have any problem in admitting I came out of the back of a failed acquisition back in 2002-03. Found myself twiddling my thumbs and looked across at what was at the time business support, state-funded business support, and was fairly unimpressed with what was being offered. And as a result of that, I kind of got involved in it, and that was my introduction to the kind of enterprise and entrepreneur community, working for some leading government agencies such as Business Link and Enterprise Coaching and all these sorts of people. So that started back in 2005, and since then, again, I think you mentioned in your intro, I've worked with thousands and thousands of people hoping to launch their own businesses.
And are there sort of hard and fast rules in terms of starting your own business, regardless of what the business is?
Well, my fear is that we get a bit too prescriptive, and one of the reasons why I wrote this book was that I was a little bit frustrated by, what I call the box office, high-octane entrepreneurs featured in programs like The Apprentice and The Dragon's Den. And actually, my findings are, do you know what? Anybody can start a business. There's a certain path that you need to follow, which I'm happy to go through. But for me, don't worry about having what people regard to be the new widget or the new bright idea. In fact, 99% of the entrepreneur startup community comprise people actually that are going to start an existing business or a conventional business in an existing or emerging market. That's actually what you find when you work in the environment that I work in.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because the programs like The Dragon's Den led us to believe that it's really quite difficult. I mean, every so often when I watch it, I see people come on and I think, oh, what a fantastic idea, and that looks great, and then they just completely rip it to shreds. You think, well, okay, actually, maybe not.
Yeah. In fact, I'm banned from watching it in our house because I end up throwing things at the TV because it's so unrealistic and it's so disconnected to the true process. Even people that go and access venture capital or venture finance, which is the closest model to something like the Dragon's Den. The process is nothing like that actually. And Luke Johnson, who started the Pizza Express chain, wrote an article not that long ago to say that actually programs like The Apprentice and The Dragon's Den were actually dissuading people from starting because people are looking at those programs and thinking, do you know what, I'm not like that, therefore I can't start a business. And that's really worrying because I'm sure even in the heart of hearts, Theo Papitas and Peter Jones wouldn't have wanted those programs actually be turning people off.
No. So what sort of key skills do you need to not just start a business, but start a successful business? Because that's the key.
Once again, don't go hunting for the new, the brand new thing for me. Actually, quite a lot of the characteristics and attributes that we already have, perhaps in our working life, lend themselves to, running a successful small business. For example, organisation, planning, research. These are not groundbreaking ideas. These are just common sense things that you would do before you go out and launch a business. The other key point I'd like to make is that people worry far too much, and I think the government in any country are kind of partly to blame for this, in that sort of wrapping people up in what I call the nitty-gritty or the formality of starting business. Actually, the last time I looked, you can't tax fresh air, and therefore far too often people get distracted by all that what I call nitty-gritty, and actually lose sight of what's really important, which are what's my proposition, who's the market for that proposition or menu, and most importantly, how am I going to deliver one to the other or broadcast one to the other? That's a business.
Mm. And with the invention of social media and the rising popularity of social media in the last few years, that enables businesses to effectively advertise themselves for free.
It does, but again, far too often I see too many businesses rely fully on social media and other online platforms to promote a business. And anybody that tells you that there's a silver bullet solution to broadcasting or promoting or publicising a business doesn't know what they're talking about. It's always the mix, Hannah, that gets the business over the line. So yes, social media is important, but we also need to consider other forms of promoting a business, such as word of mouth or personal referral, the press, network groups, all sorts of things that we can do to get the message out there. But yes, you're absolutely right. Social media is very immediate and quick impact platform for people to use to broadcast a business, but alongside other methods too.
Yeah, there's a fine line, isn't it, with social media, because people get fed up very quickly if companies are just bombarding you with sort of sales-like information, because most people will use social media maybe a little bit for business, but for social aspects. So if you've got companies that are saying, buy my property or use my window cleaner or whatever, people are unlikely to want to follow you.
I think the other thing as well that people have to, or people that are thinking about starting a business have to consider is, what types of devices are right for their business. Because let's be honest, if you were looking at starting a cleaning business or a business in the trades, Twitter, Facebook may not necessarily be the place where your potential clients are hunting for your services, and therefore it's a question of choosing or selecting the right platform that gets the message across to the people that you're targeting with that proposition.
Mm. And do you think these programmes, going back to Dragon's Den and programmes like that, do you think they encourage people to think that when starting a business, instead of starting small or instead of thinking small, it needs to be the best thing ever and the biggest, most successful business ever? Do you think people are aiming too high, maybe too quickly?
That's the danger. And programs like The Apprentice, to be fair to those programs, it's wrong for me to criticise them too much, because I think what they have is actually ignited an interest and also perhaps a thought in some people to say, do you know what, self-employment or starting a business, is a potential or is an option for me. So they're doing a job in that respect. But unfortunately, far too often, people are looking for that brand new widget, that great idea, and if they don't find it, they're dissuaded from starting a business. And that's my fear, because actually my message is, do you know what, 99% of people that start businesses start conventional trades or services in emerging or existing markets. It's a fact. And I work with thousands of people that are in... I can tell you, I can mention a handful, literally, I'm holding my hand up now, half a dozen people that have had the brand new widget in the time that I've been involved in this community. And I've met over 5,000 business startup hopefuls.
Yeah. And tell us about the other side of work that you do, that kick off in business, your work with football clubs.
I do, yes. What happened back in 2011, Business Link, as a result of the new government changes, was axed. And I still think that was, a mistake. Nevertheless, what it did, it opened up a little bit of a gap in the market for what I call field-based support. There's a huge amount of online support available. Unfortunately, it's a very confusing and complex picture, and most people that come along to our field-based events, that's one of the first things they say is that actually, do you know what happens with online provision is that you control the volume. So you go in and you turn it on full blast. And part of our responsibility is to provide people with enough information to launch their business and protect them from the information actually that they don't need now, because there is oodles of information that you don't actually need to know just at this stage. Sure, you'll have to pick it up as you travel and develop as a business, but right now, there's certain information that you need to know, and that's what you should stick to, and that unfortunately is online's downfall, where it doesn't have the ability to filter that information. So, back to your question, we launched Kick-Off in Business. We were given a small amount of money from the government training budget, and the idea was that we'd work with football clubs all over the country, from Portsmouth to Newcastle, Bristol to Norwich. And guess what? It's going remarkably well. So much so that we're actually in talks with a European operator about doing a similar thing in Spain as a pilot. And if it works there, we may well then extend that to other European countries. So who knows?
Oh, exciting stuff.
The idea is with those events is that they're 2-day events. People come along, they get the information they need. It's all free of charge. It's all delivered by qualified advisors, people that have been accredited up to a certain level to deliver business support, and people love it. It's fantastic.
Great stuff. Well, do get in touch with us if you are going to come to Spain.
Yeah,
because,
well, absolutely.
That would be great to know. If people want to get a copy of your book, it's called Everyday Entrepreneurs. And Ken, can people get in touch with you?
By all means, my website's kenhorn.co.uk. It took me hours to think of that. And my email address is ken@kenhorn.co.uk.
Perfect. Ken, thanks ever so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
TRE